5 seconds in. Here goes the countdown. What is going on, guys? Welcome to the Go Route. It is going to be Saturday, February 10th. We're talking Buffs today, like we always do. Welcome to this recorded video. Talking to my man here, Russ from Buff News Weekly. Hey, Russ, how's it going, man?
I'm doing good, Steve. Thanks for having me on today.
Yeah, no problem, man. So, everyone out there, we're talking about Buffs. Don't forget to go ahead and like, subscribe, and comment on this video. All that helps to go ahead and just bring more eyes and people to our channels and to go ahead and just to get our voices out there. And that's all we want, is to be heard and to also get our content out there. So any help we get, we appreciate. So thank you so much. All right. So what we're going to talk about today, and I know Russ is on board with this right now, we're going to first talk about, the news yesterday, what we heard from Sheduer Sanders, who talked to DNVR, and they discussed the offense when it came to the current offense in 2024 with Sheduer Sanders and with Pat Shurmur, and what happened last year with Sheduer Sanders and Sean Lewis. We got some insight yesterday. The insight that we heard is that it looks like the chemistry between Sanders and Shurmur is awesome, and they are connecting. They're even going to dinner together, which is amazing. And maybe that was part of what happened last year. They got off to the hot start, but things just didn't pan out. Russ, what are your thoughts on what happened last year? From what you can tell, just to watch the games, and then what you heard yesterday for the DNVR podcast.
Yeah, I think the big thing that we saw last year, and I kind of wondered this too going into the season. I know that going into the season, Sean Lewis was really kind of heralded as this like run and gun offense. It's going to be super high powered, all that stuff. The one thing that I didn't really think about until yesterday's stuff was, who were his quarterbacks? Where did they go on to? What kind of success did they have long term? Did they hit the NFL? Was he developing good quarterbacks? And I get that Sheduer is a talent all on his own and doesn't necessarily need that really from nothing to fully developed type quarterback. He's already got that and a lot of those intangibles already. So that yesterday really just kind of came to light when he talked about the fact that, Sean Lewis did a lot of option routes for his receivers, and Sheduer just really didn't like that. He likes the ability to know exactly where his wide receivers are going, read the defense, find the openings, and put them there. So a little bit different than what he had, and it sounds like Shurmur's going to do more of an offense that's catered to Sheduer, make things maybe a little bit easier in some parts. I also wonder how much not having any time to throw the ball plus those option routes really just kind of ruined the ability for Sheduer to succeed. So yeah, it's very interesting what happened yesterday. What are your thoughts on kind of what that happened?
Yeah, it kind of caught me off guard because I know we've wanted this information to come out for a while now. What exactly happened? Because you watch the game from the TCU game to, let's say, the UCLA game. Things just got off the rails, and you just want to know what happened. And then hearing the information about, of course, offensive line was an issue. Not blocking, giving Sheduer enough time. But if the play calling was, allowing the receivers to then, change the route at any point, that's frightening, because if you have no time to get it there and the receiver has his own mindset, and I'm pretty sure the only receiver we had on the roster that could do that and always was open was Xavier Weaver. That guy always made a point to get open. That's why he got the ball so much. So it makes sense. It makes a lot of sense. It just was good to hear it finally. And it's great to hear in that same interview with DNVR that him and Pat Shurmur are connecting. They are having a relationship. I think he said the word relationship with that interview like 5 times with Pat Shurmur. And that seems to be something that's important to him, because he wants to be able to be free. Like you said, he wants to be able to run the offense through him. He wants to be able to know where the ball is going to go without not having to take the chance of being intercepted or the receiver not being there. So I think simplifying the offense and Shurmur doing his thing to connect with Sheduer That is awesome. That lets me know that this offense is going to be better and improved and more cohesive unit moving in 2024. And not to mention that offensive line is just connecting. Those guys are just molding into a unit. And that is something to where it's great to see. And it's great to see that, hope people have around Colorado, people have, a bad taste in their mouth from the Bronco days when he was the OC here as well. And I feel bad for Pat Shermer, but he also did that mess. So he also has to understand that he has to not really rectify, but he has to, just do what he wants to do, with Sheduer, and do great things, and that's all we want. We just want this team to maximize their capabilities. And I think Shermer, if he can connect, and this is going to work, then I think this is the right move to make him the OC. So.
Yeah, it's interesting. Shermer's NFL career as a coach is just so up and down. There's some really great seasons where he did a lot with nothing. There's some seasons where he did nothing, and obviously the Broncos was one of the big ones with how bad the offense was under him. But I want to give him the benefit of the doubt. I feel like at the college level, he can really succeed implementing a more pro style and really preparing Sheduer for the NFL, and being able to make things, I think, a little bit more simplified in the college game compared to the NFL game. A lot of people are now trashing Sheduer, saying he can't be an NFL quarterback because he can't do option routes and things like that. But when I hear that, I don't think that's what it is. It's you only have 4 years with these players, if not less. This year, a lot of these players, it's just going to be 1 year and that's it. To build that chemistry, you need that time. You need that ability to do that, especially with the option routes. I'm not so sure if that is such a great plan in the college game. I don't know how often it is used across the board in college. I know the NFL, it's probably the biggest thing used, and it's the most successful way of running an offense. You see Kansas City run it. You saw New England big time run it back when Tom Brady was there. I mean, him and Wes Welker, that was their go-to. That's why Welker was getting 100 balls a year, because he was so good at the option route.
Exactly.
So it's unstoppable, but I think simplifying is going to be huge. And then, obviously all the tools we brought in this year, it's going to be a big, big success, I feel, for Sheduer.
Yeah, no, I agree. It was great to see that interview and great to get some insight on that, because I've been wondering what was going on there, like what happened. And now to see this, hopefully this page turning for 2024. Can't wait. Super excited. This lifelong Buff fan cannot wait for the season to start, even though it's months away. I'm going to hang on. We're going to get there, guys. We're going to get there together. We're going to switch gears here, man. Russ, we're going to start talking about Big 12 football. It's coming up in April. They're going to start rebranding to the Big 12 and leaving the Pac-12 once basketball season ends. And I, for one, watching the Big 8 football back in the day, now watching Big 12 football, what it has become. Texas, Oklahoma are now leaving, going to SEC. You've got, this new aligned, new teams in the Big 12. I, for one, am excited. I remember going back to, the Nebraska games, the Kansas State games, Oklahoma State games. These are games that are part of my childhood, games that I couldn't wait to see. And for me, growing up in Colorado, watching these games, it was always taught to me that it was always Buffalo football on Saturday, Bronco football on Sunday. That is what was embedded in my brain. So when I always love watching, again, Nebraska is a rivalry, and I can't wait to play him this upcoming season. We need to have that game every year. It should be on the schedule every year. It should never be off it. That's my 2 cents. And then Kansas State, Oklahoma State. Those are the teams that I miss playing the most. What are your thoughts, man? What about going back to the Big 12? We know we got the news last fall. I was super excited about that. But what are your thoughts switching gears from the Pac-12 to the Big 12 here soon?
Yeah, I think when they left for the Pac-12, I did not love that move at all. I think it really took away the roots of what Colorado football was. The California game, the West Coast game is not Colorado football. And I think, like you said, just growing up, the Colorado football, I remember it was synonymous with the Big 12 and with the Big 8 and with those teams, the Oklahoma rivalry, playing Texas, Kansas, of course, the Nebraska rivalry. We were all geographically really close, so it helped even create more of that rivalry that we need. West Coast is way too far for that from Colorado. The time zones weren't great. Mountain time zone not included at all. Central time zone not included. So I'm very excited for that. Like you said, I'm excited for those games you mentioned. I'm excited for Kansas. The fact that it's going to be at Kansas in Arrowhead will be very interesting to see. That'll be prime time. It's going to be a tough game for sure.
Yeah.
And then some of the new teams that we're bringing along, I like the teams we brought from the Pac-12. I like the Arizona State, Utah connection because I think those were the only teams I really truly felt like maybe we were starting to kind of brew a rivalry with, especially this last season. So I'm excited for what the schedule looks like for next year. I think it's a really great schedule. People are saying it's going to be a tough schedule, but overall, I just really like what we're doing with next year and beyond. But I agree with you on the Nebraska game for sure. Every year, Nebraska, stop dodging us. Let's get this approved and keep going with it, not just end it after this season.
Exactly. I mean, the only reason why they don't want to play us because we keep beating them, which I understand. That's why they don't want to play us. I know we since 2018 there was like an 8-year gap. We didn't play from 2011 or 2010 to 2018. But I'm only going to consider the 2018, those last 3 games from like starting the rivalry again recently. And I looked at a stat which kind of blew my mind. Since the year 2000, Colorado and Nebraska have split their games. 7 wins, 7 losses each against each other. So in the relative new time era, since 2000, it's not a blowout, Nebraska fans. It is split down the middle, 7-7. These matchups have been since 2000, to be fair. So, if you want to play us, we're here to play you because we want to play. Colorado State is not our rival. It is Nebraska.
Yeah, it's interesting though. I'm very shocked. My biggest thing that was shocking from last year going to next year is I feel like I would agree. Colorado State, it was just, big brother, little brother. It was that whole thing. It was kind of more annoying than anything. This year, it kind of took a turn. And I really liked when they showed the schedule. A lot of the guys that they talked to in the workout rooms were saying they're excited for that Colorado State game. So last year's game, the coach for CSU, his relationship now with Prime, I think we've started to now almost create a little bit more of a rivalry there than it should be. It'll be must-see TV. I think that's what more it's doing. Do I think it's going to be a close game? Absolutely not. I know that last year was close. And in all honesty, rivalry games usually have those kind of outcomes, even when the teams are heavily unmatched. But I'm definitely excited for that. Nebraska, obviously the home opener against North Dakota State. I'm interested to see what that'll look like. It could go one of two ways. It could be a close game. It could be a blowout, mostly because North Dakota lost their entire coaching staff. Completely new coaches to have to deal with, have to come to Colorado to play us. Home opener, sure it'll be on national TV, and I'm sure the Buffs will be ready to go, especially because it's the opener. I think our biggest first test is honestly going to be probably between UCF and Kansas State when that kind of starts. That's what I'm looking at as far as when it gets a little bit more tough. Obviously, we'll see about Arizona. I have no idea what's going on over there. And then, that Oklahoma State and Kansas game on the back end is going to be very interesting as well.
Yeah, they have a bye week. They have 2 bye weeks in this new schedule because of Memorial Day. So it looks like the second bye week, which is going to be that when I looked at the schedule initially, and I'll run through it here in a second. Like it looks like you went through some of those games. So I appreciate that. It was after after Arizona. So the last 5 games you have Cincinnati at home, you go to Texas Tech, Utah at home, go to Kansas, and you have Oklahoma State at home. That 5 game is a gauntlet because you're basically playing, again, it's home and away, but that is by far going to be the hardest stretch. And by that point, you could be 3-3, you could be 4-2, you could be whatever it is. You have to win majority of those games to make a bowl game, but then also to go ahead and to be anywhere making any progress from 2023 to 2024. My impression when the schedule came out, like you said, when we first started talking, people were saying this schedule is going to be brutal, hard. I think people said the Arizona schedule was going to be brutal, hard. Like they did Colorado they gave Colorado like no easy schedule, which is true. It's not the easiest one. We are facing some of the top Big 12 teams from 2024. But this theme flips like every year. Who's good and who's not the best, and rosters get flipped. So in 2020, in today's time with transfer portal, graduates, and everything, it's things flip so much. So North Dakota State at home, that's the first game. Then you got Nebraska, Colorado State, Baylor, UCF, Kansas State, Arizona, Cincinnati, Texas Tech, Utah, Kansas, Oklahoma State. And I think I saw this on DNVR podcast. It is so great to see all Big 12 rivals in the schedule. I am so excited for those names to be on there. And you know what? My initial look at this, I saw North Dakota State. I was like, that's a tough one because a team's coming to town that is really good. They're D2, right? North Dakota State.
They're FCS, so
FCS,
they're just below us in the FBS.
Gotcha. Okay, so they're going to come in. They have always had a very strong team every year, so that is a game you really can't discount. It's not a gimme game like some teams have. That's a team that can play. And that's you have to strap up and strap that chin strap because they're going to come right play. Nebraska. I'm going to call that a win. I'll call it right now. Not going to worry about it. Colorado State. That's basically a home game for Colorado. Baylor. You know what? I don't know. I mean, I think once we get to the meat of the Big 12, that's where we're going to start seeing. Okay, so where do we stack up against the lower tiers like the Baylors, the UCFs? Can we take care of business versus those teams? I think we get a bye week after that. It looks like, we get a bye week after UCF, and then Kansas State, Arizona, and then we get another bye week. So it looks good to me. I'm excited. I'm super excited to go ahead and get back into Big 12 football, get back in the middle of the country football. It always felt like to me, playing teams like, and this is no shade on Cal or anyone that was in the Pac-12, it never felt like football. It felt like an obligation, like they were just going there to do football. But Cal was like, hey, we're here, but we're not really enthused. Like some of those stadiums didn't even fill out at all. They were just teams to play, but no one in those universities cared to watch football. And to me, that was, and then you turn to like CBS and, Auburn, Alabama has a packed stadium, and, some of these other Pacific schools couldn't even fill up their stadium. So it made me sad to watch, these other universities we played, and we had not a great fan base compared to the Big 12. I love the Big 12 fan base more than the Pac-12 fan base.
Yeah, it's been interesting interacting with them too. I mean, Oklahoma State has some great fans. Kansas State, both great fans. Texas Tech, same thing. So, I agree with you because it was just interesting just seeing this year how we were kind of the only team that was drawing sellouts for some of our away games for these other teams. And, you'd see on the broadcast, it's like, oh, it's the first sellout they've had in like 2 or 3 years or however many years it was. UCLA is actually going to take tarps off at the, at their stadium to add seats. Right. And it's like, it's really embarrassing. I'll give the respect. Obviously, Oregon, amazing place to play. Washington, amazing place to play. Oh, yeah. But those California schools, it just was not the same compared to Texas schools, compared to Kansas schools. So yeah, that's a super exciting part to get back to some really, really good football cities and football teams and atmospheres. So I'm excited to see what that looks like. And yeah, it's gonna be very interesting. I think, like you said, once we see that early part of the season and we can kind of see what all the teams are looking like, I think we'll have a better idea of just how difficult or easy some of the games may be as we go through. But again, like you said, I don't foresee a problem with Nebraska. They don't have a quarterback right now. I don't care what you say if they have the number one quarterback in the country. Dylan. If he starts, I don't think he's going to be this amazing thing from the get-go. Like, he's great. He's going to be a great quarterback for them. Okay. If they're starting him day one, that is not a good thing. CSU, same thing. They're bringing back their quarterback and starting receiver that kind of killed us. I'm a little interested to see how that goes. But again, I think that they're going to have a little extra to play for this time. And I'm excited to see what they do. I have a feeling we could go up there and smack them in the mouth in Fort Collins. So super excited. I can't wait for the season to start.
Yeah, I mean, when football ended in December for us, I couldn't wait for the next season to get kicked off. Couldn't wait to get in Big 12 football. Who knows? Being some of these games are close enough to Colorado, they're easier to drive to. So if you're a Colorado fan, you can drive to, K-State, Oklahoma State, even Iowa State if you wanted to, down to Texas school. So I understand that we have alumni that live in California, but we have alumni in Texas, man. We have alumni that are everywhere, and we have a new crop of Coach Prime fans that now exist that are helping to push this, this media giant, which is now Coach Prime and Colorado Buffaloes. And, it's amazing to watch because I've been watching, Buff football since forever, it feels like. And there's been some very low lows, but now we're seeing some very high highs. And it's just amazing to see what is going on. And that's actually a good segue into the next topic because as we all know, I think about a week ago, the SEC and the Big Ten went ahead and just announced they're in some form of again, quotes, alliance. But right now, it looks like those two programs are going to, after 2025, are going to be kind of dictating where the landscape of Power 4, Power 5 football is going to look like after that year. I know that the Pac-2, which are left, Washington, Oregon, went ahead and voted to not adjust some of the college football playoff, if it's a split of a 6-6 to a 5-7. So they're going to hang on to what they can, and that's fine. Washington State and Oregon State need to get what they need to get, and I don't, throw shade at them at all for doing that. But if nothing gets resolved, this only case scenario only happens if nothing gets resolved and we go to 2025, and that's in 2 years from now. So my take on it, Colorado football, is that they need to go ahead and be a ratings juggernaut. They need to go ahead because now they're going to be on ESPN and Fox. So they need to go ahead and show Big Ten and SEC. Not saying I want to leave the Big 12 as of yet, but if this thing gets blown up like it's freaking Armageddon, we need a chair, some place where we can actually compete and actually have a chance to move this train down the road. So, because I don't want to stop. I don't know about you, Russ, but I want to keep going. I want to keep going. Do not want to stop. And if Coach Prime wants to be here, he wants to develop this and build a legacy here in Colorado, dude, stay as long as you want. I welcome that. So if something were to happen, again, earliest 2025, latest it could happen would probably be 2031 when the TV media deals kind of all of them SEC Big Ten come up. I think being a ratings juggernaut, keep getting good recruits. At some point, Colorado's going to have to go ahead and hit the high school recruits a little harder and get more depth that way as well. I know that's not the system now. 40-40-20 split is how Coach Prime does it. I think it's just ratings and putting a great product in the field. That might be enough to maybe get an invite into a super conference that may exist, because I don't think it's going to stop at 32 teams between the SEC and Big Ten. I think they're going to let at least 8 more teams in there to get to 40. And if that happens, watch out for Colorado, because Colorado can sneak in there if they keep building this juggernaut of just what Colorado is now. Let's not worry about Colorado was a couple of years ago. They are building this thing year by year. What are your thoughts on, what Colorado may need to do or what they can do to stand out from the crowd and maybe get an invite to this dance, almost like March Madness-esque?
Yeah, so I think we're lucky. I mean, the Coach Prime thing happened at the perfect time. Rick George is a genius. He's looking like a genius. They need to do whatever they can, give Coach Prime whatever he wants, because without Coach Prime as the coach, we would probably be Washington State right now. We would probably be Oregon State right now. Yep. We would be without a conference, without a direction, without a future, and all of that dwindling very quickly. The fact that we have Coach Prime is going to give us a seat at the table no matter what happens. As long as he stays, we're going to get the eyes on us, because that's who Prime is. He is a marketer. He is a genius when it comes to that. He has his connections. All week, it's just been Coach Prime getting interviewed at the Super Bowl. CU players getting interviewed at the Super Bowl. I don't see a single other college that has players at the Super Bowl that are being interviewed on national TV. That shows you the brand he's created, and that is going to save Colorado football more than anything. We
Yep.
do need to get the wins. We need to, because we saw what happened, the huge hype going 4-0, what that created and what Juggernaut created. If we can do that this year, if we can start 5-0, 6-0, and be competing for a conference championship down that stretch you were talking about, I think it would be impossible for the SEC, for the Big Ten, that if they're looking to create a super conference, they wouldn't include the marketing juggernaut and the money juggernaut that CU would be in both the ratings. I mean, you just look at the deal that we got going to the Big 12.
Yep.
We were the only team that got a bonus to join the Big 12. That tells me that they saw Coach Prime, they saw the value he brought and said, here's extra money to make sure you come to us because we're losing Texas, we're losing Oklahoma. We need a really big ticket in the conference, and we're hitching our post to Coach Prime and CU. So yeah, that it's quite interesting. I'm glad that we have him. I'm so glad that we went that way. Yep. I thank God every single day that we're in this situation and not what Oregon State, unfortunately, and Washington State fans are dealing with right now. So yeah, that's kind of my thoughts of where we're going to go with it.
Yeah, it's interesting to watch because a couple of years ago, I never would have thought this would be something happening. You always heard rumbles about, USC and UCLA. Some schools want to fracture off and go independent or go to the Big Ten or go do this. They feel like they're a bigger brand, and I get that. But just the seismic movements that have been happening over the last couple of years has just been insane. You've got Stanford, a Pacific school, going to go play, on the Atlantic side and playing schools over there. I mean, this is just ridiculous. Luckily, regionally, we're still kind of in the same boat where I think our farthest school we play is UCF. But like I said, it's only one school, and it's not that far from Mountain West to Eastern Standard Time as opposed to, Pacific to Eastern Standard Time. So it makes a little bit more sense there. But it's going to be interesting the next couple of years. 2025, the earliest, 2031, the latest. Right now, Coach Prime it feels like he's playing 3D chess and everyone else is just playing checkers. And it feels like he knows what the future holds. Even hearing coaches like Nick Saban and other coaches retire, and maybe Chip Kelly as well, leave a head coaching job to go offensive coordinator. Some head coaches do not want to do this new landscape of what it looks like. And they want to go ahead and actually, take a back seat for the moment, where Coach Prime is saying, hey, if you don't want to drive right now, I'm more than willing to take the keys. I'm more than willing to go ahead and see what I can do in this new, endeavor going on in college football landscape. And it's going to pay dividends. They got to get some wins, but not being on the Pac-12 network anymore, hiding games that no one can see, that is going to benefit us to now be on ESPN and on Fox. Games are guaranteed to be on stations people can find. Anyone can get those stations, and that is going to benefit Colorado. And, there's going to be a couple teams that if this super conference does get created in 2025 or 2031, you just got to stick out. You got to stick out. You got to show them, what can you give me? What can you offer us? And they're going to pull schools from the ACC. They're going to pull schools from the Big 12. They're going to pull whatever they can do to bring the most money into a conference. And we all know it's going that way. It's been going that direction for a couple of years. All I want is a seat at the table. Give me an invite. Hey, just we'll keep working on the media. We'll keep working on the wins. We'll keep working on that. This juggernaut we're working on. But just don't forget about us because we're on the way. So
it's something else you got to realize too is it's not just football either. Your other sports are marketable, and basketball right now is coming alive for both the men's and women's team for CU. That is big when it comes to the SEC and Big Ten and the ACC. Making this move to the Big 12 wasn't just football. The Big 12 is probably the best basketball conference in the country. One of them.
Oh, yeah.
So that's another huge aspect. The other sports that Colorado brings with it, that's going to be important. We are very competitive in most of the sports that we play at the Division I level. And so that's a value add if we were to add those. Now, I don't know if eventually the super conference will just be football or if they'll be taking along all the other sports as well. That's going to be an interesting thing to watch when it comes to this. But that's definitely going to help. It's why we got the Big 12, invite. It wasn't just football. It was like, as a total package, CU brings a ton of stuff to this conference. We have to have them versus other teams like we said, the Oregon States, the Washington States. They didn't have much else to bring. The football wasn't that great. The fan base, unfortunately, wasn't as rabid and really putting those eyes and ticket sales and all that stuff going towards it. And so they're just kind of left out, and we're now seeing what that looks like. I don't want to be that team when it comes to the big time super conference when we get there.
Yeah, timing is everything. And like you said before, this just had the perfect timing for, where we're hearing this dynamic Pac-12 collapse, Big 12 convergence, and then we'll see what happens in the future because, it's just a fun topic to talk about because we know it's coming, but you also want to make sure that, I feel pretty good the way that we're situating ourselves with Coach Prime and the way we're trending the right way. That's only going to help us to go ahead and always have, be relevant and always have a home where we can actually, play the big schools and just, I guess to be relevant. When Colorado has been relevant for so long, it's just nice to be talked about. That's really all that I enjoy that much. And I enjoy talking Buzz football, with everyone on YouTube and all the fans out there. This community is growing. That is awesome to see. With that, I think we're going to go ahead and cut this video short here in a second. At this point on, Russ, I know that we're going to go ahead and talk more buffs in the future. We'll hopefully try to connect more and get more content out there. Anything else you want to leave off with? How was anything you're going to start hitting on next week at all, or anything you want to discuss?
Just make sure you guys check out. So I do weekly news summary videos on Saturdays. So make sure you guys go check those out if you just kind of want a one-stop shop for just what happened. Everybody else on the platform, you included, some of the other creators do a great job of discussing buffs on a regular basis. So it's kind of a good companion to have. Watch the news video, go see what people think about it. It's a good kind of 1-2 punch. So make sure you guys go check us out. And I can't wait to continue to do some more collabs and see where all this goes. And again, excited for spring ball to start and for the season upcoming to see what exactly happens. So thanks for having me for sure.
Yeah, no problem, man. This has been an exciting time to go ahead and meet new Buff fans that are coming online to YouTube and just create this larger community. We're gonna keep growing. Can't stop us. Buffs Nation is going to keep moving forward, and this is something to where we cannot wait to go ahead and get the season rocking. Guys, don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. I appreciate you checking in today, and you guys have a great day.